I'm going to call this meeting to order. Ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic on which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, is there any discussion about the March 11th, 2024 minutes?
I make a motion to accept the March 11th, 2024 minutes.
No second.
Thank you. And because we have two people on Zoom, we will take a roll. So Jenny Donovan,
Hello, I'm here.
how do you vote on the minutes?
Sorry, I'm working. I can't see any of you. I apologize. I vote to approve.
Jamie Teague, I don't see you on the screen, but I've heard you.
Okay, I am here. I don't know what's going on. I honestly haven't had a chance to look at them, so I'll abstain. Sorry.
No worries, thank you very much. Joe,
Yes, I approve.
Sarah, I approve. Kevin?
Yes.
I'll say yes. All right, thank you very much. Now I see that we do have some visitors here. Does anybody want to come to the front? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Wes Vickers from Walpole. And I just wanted to bring you guys kind of up to speed. We have a committee in Walpole for Walpole Safety Committee, which is kind of an offshoot of, it was an offshoot of our site base, which I'm the chairman of the committee. But I just kind of wanted to bring you guys, I don't know how much you're aware of that and what we've been doing. But this is a copy of our last meeting's overview so that you can have an idea. And you'll see that the last meeting we had was in December. We haven't had another meeting since because we're actually making a lot of headway. And the next meeting we're having is tomorrow afternoon. And we have our design. I think I did it.
Eventually.
And,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. So, you can see that on our committee is myself, Justin Casarino, who is the principal in Walpole, as you know, Mark Houghton, who is the fire EMS chief, Justin Sanctuary, who is the police chief, John Pesca, who is on the Walpole Emergency Management, and he was director of security for a national company. And then Steve Horton is kind of a guest. Steve Horton worked for Macmillan Company, and he designed building. He's currently working on two school entrances in Vermont right now. He is volunteering his services for the Walpole buildings entrances, and he will present a draft of that in our meeting tomorrow. And I know that on your facilities that you had allocated to Walpole $35,000 for each school to do a design. Steve's gonna do that gratis.
Nice.
So that's kind of a rough of the committee. And so we started as part of the site base, and you can see that one of the things that we did first was the 3M safety window film. I believe that's on, I know it's on all the Walpole schools. One of the things that's been great about this is that we've had this committee, but it's kind of gone off to all the other schools. So window film, I believe, is on all schools in the district. I believe security doors are now on all schools. Security cameras, I believe that Charlestown Middle School is the only one that had, or primary, the only one that has it. We have a quote in Walpole for $63,000 for our school. We do have a grant, which I'll give you a copy of in a minute, to have that done. So speaking of the grants, just again, to kind of these are 2019 and 2021. We didn't apply for any grants in 2020, but you can see as a district, and again, this is prior administrations, and we've had many administrations in between that, I know that, and many BAs and superintendents, but we didn't do a good job of applying for, again, you can see we got a total of 58,000. And, I mean, I'll say to you that a school like, for instance, I think during that same period, Winchester got $500,000. So that's just, and this is just an FYI. It's not throwing stones or anything. I mean, it's the entire, it's all of us. So that's what 2019 and 21, what we got. In starting the committee, with Justin prodding, prodding Justin prodded Dr. Minahan, and we put in, and we got paid in fiscal year 23, which I, unfortunately, you can see I had some difficulties, ran out of tone. But you can see we're about a third of the way down we start, and you can see what each attendance area got for federal grants. That was in fiscal year 23. So, I mean, you can see, Ackworth got, I should put on my glasses, $15,000. I think Walpole got the most at like $96,000. So we got a fair amount of money, which paid for all of the doors, door locks, window film. Everything that we've done up to this point has all been either donated or paid for by grants. So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And again, the nice thing about it is that the prodding of us getting together and saying, okay, we need all of this. Justin was able to prod and say, okay, well, we need to ask for these grants, and the grants were asked for every school in the district. Now, that brings us to today, and I have marked, I've highlighted on this is our current, we have been approved, and we're on a waiting list. So we have grants that are approved by the state, and we're on a waiting list, and I've highlighted where we are.
Thank you. Whoa. I need my,
Yeah, it's, so
Kind of a place we're on.
oh, thank you for highlighting where we are.
I highlighted where we're at because I know it's very small print, but that's the state of New Hampshire. So you can see that we have quite a bit of money that we've been approved for. I actually wrote it down somewhere here. So yeah, Fall Mountain Regional High School has been approved by the state for $100,000 worth of upgrades. Walpole's been approved for $62,180. Charlestown Middle and Primary has been approved for $64,197, and the other Ackworth, et cetera, you can read their single line items. So they've all been approved. We're on a waiting list. The state has said, yes, we approve of your project, but we don't have the money. I have a personal family friend who happens to be a state senator, Donovan Fenton. I've been in contact with Donovan. He is gonna see what he can do to push us up closer to the list. And, you know, I said, Donovan, you know, Walpole is in his district. And we have had 2 in the last 10 years, state police lockdowns, which he's aware of. So he's gonna use that hopefully to his benefit and hopefully get everything in the district approved. So we're working on that. He's doing what he can. And that brings you up to where we're at. Just to go over these, then to go back to the original minutes of our last meeting. So again, the security camera systems are $63,000 for Walpole. We would like to propose to you, it has been approved by the state but not funded, which means it may not get funded. But the committee would love it if you would take out of Walpole's funds and approve for those security cameras quickly. I also know that you know, we had and I don't know how you do it as far as the BA goes, if it's even possible, but we had for a refrigerator that if we got the money for that grant, if we can switch those monies around to pay for the security camera, but it would be nice, we'd be happy if that could happen because it's something that we need. And then frankly, you know, again, we only have 1 school that has security cameras, which is Charlestown.
Clarifying question, okay?
Yes.
Is this just for the front, just for the doors, or is this like throughout the school security camera?
I don't, honestly, Justin, if he was here, he could answer, but he got the quote of 63,000.
So just for video cameras in the schools that we looked at with this grant, it'd be inside the hallways, and then external cameras as well. So it's quite a few cameras at each building.
Can I follow up again? So does Walpole have cameras at the front doors?
Wes, I am here. Can I speak?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, who is speaking?
It's Justin.
Okay, hi, Justin. Yes, thank you. Please go ahead.
Yes, so thank you. So we have currently just the cameras at the front door and back doors to all buildings, but with this quote, this is getting each hallways, some of the exterior, all the main areas like cafeteria and everything like that for all 3 of the schools that we went and worked with Lynn to make sure that, you know, all areas were covered.
Thank you for clarifying, Justin.
Okay, so we'd love it if you could somehow find the funds to do that, and again, it may be that it's reimbursed by the state, but we certainly can't guarantee that, but that's been approved. The next thing was, again, we thought that it was probably gonna be a district-wide program, which is to have mobile communications. And again, I didn't want to bring a whole dog and pony show here to explain everything, but from what I understand, that you can get like the principal and the lead, like for instance, in Walpole, you have Justin, and then you have 2 lead teachers in North Walpole in the primary. They could be given radios in the event of an emergency that they had to go outside, would put them in direct contact with the emergency personnel. So Mark Houghton, who's our fire EMS chief, said yes,
No.
he could give us radios
They don't.
that would be, you know, they'd be outside and they'd be in contact with the emergency officials. And I think that'd be a great thing for all schools.
Yes, sir.
I just want to check, I think that everything that you're saying is wonderful. I'm wondering how this connects in with, Dr. Spence, have you been kept in the loop in terms of all of these projects that they're working on? And I think just point
Yes.
of procedure, I think is important.
Yes and no.
Okay,
So for I think you're representing the pilot application that you're about to lead into. Wes, are we talking about the application that we have that's piloted in Walpole School?
Or something like it. I mean, again, Mark Houghton was saying that he could give them actual fire police radios.
Okay,
So
no, that's not.
in event of an emergency, they could be, if they had to go out in the yard, they could be in contact with the police.
Okay, so that's different.
Okay, so, we're currently in, public comment period.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I'm just wondering if you're looking for us to give you some answers, if you're looking for a
no, I'm
discussion.
just I'm throwing out that that's where we're at.
Okay,
This is
appreciate that.
our
I just
list of,
wasn't sure if we were gonna
Yeah,
turn this
no.
into a conversation.
No, I'm
And we should
saying
move
to
it
you this,
in the agenda.
in our committee, and again, you're talking about fire, police in the town of Walpole, and us getting together, everybody said this is what's needed, and it was also based off of the
Land security.
CSA, not, you know,
Homeland security.
right,
report from 6 years ago.
right.
So, our police chief and our fire chief are saying, yes, these things are definitely needed. We would have liked to have them 5 years ago. We don't know why they haven't moved forward. So I'm just bringing you guys up to speed that so far, what we've done has all been either volunteer, donated, or gotten from grants. It hasn't cost the district a dime.
I certainly
And,
appreciate that.
and we're moving forward, but here we're hitting the roadblocks in that, we'd like these camera systems, and I think it'd be good for all schools. And we have the money approved by the state, but we're on a waiting list. The radios, I think that if each principal was to get a fire police radio in the event of an emergency, it doesn't sound like that would be a lot of money to me. Well, I don't know. Justin, if you're still around, because Dr. Spence asked about another program.
Yeah, so this is Justin, if it's okay to speak again.
Yes, please.
So, we are piloting the app, that's working really well. I think that's what Dr. Spence was talking about, where we have our apps through the phone that goes directly towards fire and police. Whenever we do a drill, we've been practicing with that. The radios that Mark Houghton brought up is, it's just like the radios that we use with transportation. They were wondering, can those get connected directly to fire and EMS? That was one of the conversations that we have. And, we've talked about some of the issues that we're occurring with those because, of, internet service at some of the buildings, and it doesn't work correctly and everything like that. So I think that was one of the discussions that admin was actually having too about the radios as well.
Okay, thank you.
So, again, we can talk about that again at our meeting tomorrow, but I'm just kind of bringing you guys into the loop of everything that we're discussing. I'm not a fire EMS radio specialist.
All right, I
So,
appreciate that.
The next thing is that, it was recommended that we have vehicle blockades put in. And John Pesca, who was involved with, the Colorado bombings, he said he thinks that this is very important, that so that you don't have vehicles getting near the school. We discussed this, and I guess there are multiple ways that you could go about this. You could actually buy pre-made blockades, gates, etc., but that's you getting into expense.
I'm gonna have a suggestion. I think these are some really great ideas. Much of this we've talked about on different occasions, but I would like for you to meet with the administration so that we can filter this through, so we can just, where our efforts mirror and we can plan from there. There's been a great deal of work here, but I would like to meet with you and you can meet with Lori and I to just go over what the plans are. And then I think we can then double back. Does that sound?
I think that makes sense if you're looking for an action from us
Yeah.
for any of this.
Yeah, because then we'd be better suited to put that in like the plan. So valid concerns, it's just, we gotta organize like when and where. So I'd like to meet with both of you.
Well, we're having a meeting again, which you've been invited to tomorrow,
Okay,
at the fire station at 3 PM. We'll invite, anybody's, any of you who would like to come are invited.
Appreciate that.
Jen has already been invited. She's planning on telecommuting to the meeting. So, I mean, we have tried to keep everybody, and again, some of this started before Dr. Spence and before Laurie. So we've been working on this for a while. Again, those of you who know me, one of my marching orders has been school safety for the last 5 years. And as you know, on your facilities meetings, it's listed to fix the entrances of the buildings, but we haven't done anything about it.
Yeah.
So, but to go back to the blockades just for a minute, we met and we all agreed that buying gates and putting up, pre-made barriers is very expensive. Everybody agreed that the cheapest way would be to go get some boulders.
We brought
And
them here well.
we have, Cold River Materials has already, I don't know if you need for them to do it, but they have volunteered, they're gonna donate as many rocks as we want. Gary Patch said, come on down. If you guys
We
wanna
got
come down, you can pick out your own pet rocks, put your name on it. And E.E. Houghton has volunteered their excavator to place all the boulders. So again, this program would be of no cost to the district. I also think that if we talk to Gary, he'd probably offer boulders to any school that wanted them.
Well, I just
because
wanna,
He said, just come on down and get your boulders. I have plenty in all sizes. I have them from 6 foot to 6 feet.
well, I do appreciate your presentation, Mr. Vickers. I think
Yeah.
if you take Dr. Spence up on his offer to meet with you and come up with a plan that you'll then come to us on the agenda, we'll have a discussion, you can ask for what you need and we can make some choices at that time, I think would be a good thing going forward.
well, I didn't send you the email to come to central office, so we could like merge our plans together and discuss it, so I'll follow up tomorrow and then we'll schedule a time.
Okay, again, just so you know, we are meeting tomorrow
Right.
with Steve Horton.
Wonderful.
Steve Horton, and Dr. Spence doesn't know Steve, but Steve has designed probably some of this building.
I think he did design this one we're sitting in.
And he's designing some school entrances across the river right now. He has donated his time for the Walpole buildings. And he has rough sketches done already to fix the Walpole problems. And again, so I'll be glad to meet, you know, one thing I will say that this is really not, but I'd say that you as a school board should look into. I mean, because we're only, the SRO that Justin Sanctuary wanted is probably not gonna happen for the Walpole School. I mean, I think that was Justin had a wish for that.
Excuse me, what time tomorrow and which,
3 PM at the Walpole Fire Station.
and that's the one on Main Street?
Yeah, right across from the old
Up
Orange
the street
Johnson's.
from where Agway or whatever it's called now is?
Yeah, right just down the road and it's upstairs.
Upstairs, okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much.
One thing you should look, and if you want, I can do a presentation on it, but there's a program that was through the Sandy Brook Promise called Say Hello. It's free. It's a great program. I think you guys should look at it. I mean, it puts teachers in contact over the phone for free with crisis administrators if they have an ongoing crisis, and it's free. So
Well, I appreciate
again,
that recommendation as well. Is that something you can take up at your
Yeah.
AT meeting and see if that's something people would be open to?
And then, yeah, and I'll leave a follow up with next steps.
yeah, so, I
Alright,
mean, that's,
fantastic.
I'm not even, because I'm just saying that that's an idea that came out that we should probably look at.
There are a
But
lot
if
of.
maybe there's some other reason, again, Dr. Spence, I'm not an administrator, I don't know what goes into it. Maybe there's another program that's better than that, I don't know, but it seemed like a good program.
We'll talk about that. This is going to follow up and send you an email. We've been doing a good deal of work, and I think it aligns with where we're going anyway, so we just need to figure out like the timeline stuff. So I'll chat with you sometime this week, hopefully. We will meet.
you know, our biggest challenge is gonna be when these entrances are actually needed, but I would say that, you know, the feeling is that as far as, you know, the people in Walpole, that they would have no problem with having a separate warrant article to pay to upgrade the entrances. And the last thing I'd like to say is that this started off as a Walpole site-based, but kind of morphed into, and, you know, we do have concerns about the high school. And if the other schools, and again, I'm hoping that you're looking at that, Dr. Spence, the other schools want to talk to any of us, or come to a meeting or have us go, we'd all be, you know, and again, everybody on our committee, except for me, I'm just a mouthpiece. The rest of the people on the committee are all professionals in safety, security, et cetera.
They do certainly have quality resumes. On that note, we do have a district-wide facilities committee, if anybody is interested in joining that, that will address all of these issues as well. So,
Well, again, I know that you do, but it's not because Dr. Spencer and I had spoken, and he said you should go to the facilities committee, but you don't have one currently.
we do.
You do, but
That's us.
it's you.
We put the call out and there was no one to answer
Okay, but I'm
it,
saying
so
prior-
please join us.
When we started, which was,
Thank you.
I want to hear more about the boulders.
All right, thank you. All right, if I could open it up for our superintendent's report.
Oh, I'm just waiting to pull it up here because I'm literally blind. It's some font on there today. Give me 1 second, everybody, please. Okay, do we have our? Oh, thank you, Brian. Okay, so here we are. Good evening to the board, good evening to our viewing audience beyond, and I guess that we have with us. Again, like everything we do, we all center our work with our mission and vision statement here. Today, I have a brief presentation, but just want to bring the board, bring some things to the board's attention. So right now, the Hampshire Office of Social and Emotional Wellness they're receiving some monies to fund a project which will essentially allow them to hire professionals that will support the MTSSB models for behavior, social emotional awareness. One of the things that we've outlined in our district as a need. So the goal is to provide full-time services and multi-tier system of support for behavior, system building, support to partnering local education agencies, i.e. the district. And additionally, between 4 and 6 participating local education agencies will have the opportunity to receive funding up to $250,000 per year, depending on size and need. So the funding will be used to support the hiring of a project manager who will serve as an internal MTSSB coach, but really a liaison between the state and us as an initiative that we're trying to push within the district. So it's, I believe, a 5-year commitment. And the next slide outlines what it is that we will need from, what they would need from us. So what is a 5-year commitment? And the position would be a school liaison. They've also issued a draft description of the duties and responsibilities, and it will really work to build and support that model as we're looking at social emotional learning, and we're looking at building additional supports to help our young people do well in school. The position will also function as, again, a liaison between both agencies. And the idea is that they will take the framework developed by the agency and implement it throughout the district so that we can have social emotional learning, et cetera, in our schools. It's one of the things that I had outlined on November 13th, and this opportunity presented itself. So I had, with the administration, I've completed they had a short application that was due yesterday. We completed it, and we are waiting to see if we are selected. And if we are selected, I believe there is one financial commitment. I think it's about 25% of that salary for that person, but I think that the benefit will, you know, outweigh the cost of that. So it's something that we're looking into. We applied for it. And I think it supports where we're going. Any questions about that?
I just want to make sure you were nodding to me. I think this sounds wonderful. Would this include, working on getting some wraparound services so that if a student needed wraparound services from various agencies, that we would be able to have a meeting where all those agencies would come and be able to do a plan so that we don't have different agencies doing different things with kids that nobody else knows what's going on?
So with this position, coordinate like the wraparound services.
Well, coordinate that process. It's a pretty
So
extensive process.
That's one of the things we're working on actually now, through Alice Cable's position in our family and community engagement department. So she's working on coordinating support with agencies so that we can provide wraparound services. This position, if we were able to get this position, we could rework the job description to make it amendable for our local context to suit our needs.
Okay.
So it's a yes and no.
Yeah.
I can't remember the proposed job description from the state if it entails that, but I see that position as working within that office, so to speak, to deliver that service.
Great.
Do we currently have a school liaison that we would then on staff and then we kind of morph them into this position? Or are we thinking about hiring someone?
Hiring someone in addition to that position.
We think we have the funds we can find the funds to do that within our current budget.
We're looking at that. And so to the extent, if it's cost prohibitive, then it's just an opportunity that we have to give up and we won't explore that direction. If it's something that we can feasibly do, then I think it supports the direction that we should go in. Right now, in just in the country, period, social emotional learning has become a priority because they're finding, especially since the pandemic, that mental health has exacerbated. Kids are leaving the system and they are struggling to function as adults. So the federal government is incentivizing us, hey, more money, do X, Y, and Z, because we want you to invest in this structure so that kids can leave the system prepared to do life. So again, this is one of those functions in school that has changed over time, the role and responsibility of the school. Prior to this was done at home. Society has changed and now schools are taking up this responsibility in a different way. And it's multiple states that have this framework. So I didn't want to not explore because there was some money on the table. So if it's something that we can support and we have an appetite for it, I think we should do it. Ultimately, it will come at the board's feet.
Thank you.
I have a lot of questions. Over the last several years, I feel like we have been talking about people who within our current district already fill what it sounds like these roles are. So what does this add that we are not getting now? We have a liaison in between the community and the school. We have a terrific special ed director. We have people in the buildings doing social emotional learning programs through the guidance department. What are we missing that this is going to fill?
That's a fair question. So this one is coordinated with the state, so to make sure that we are in sync with the state and they'll tap into additional resources. But right now, we don't have a systemic effort across the board. We do this on the a la carte. Some people do this, some people are trained in that, but we have no district-wide initiative that supports social emotional learning. We have no district-wide, this framework has not been implemented throughout the district. I don't know the scope of this work, and I'm going to forward the job description to the board that details, because that's a very good question. Because it's more comprehensive than that. And it encompasses a lot. So one, just doing the coordination and turnkeying all of the requirements from the state, that requires a position in and of itself looking at this. Making sure that they're providing training across the district to make sure that we are in compliance with the state expectations for this grant and to make sure that we are doing this right and well is something else. We started this work initially. The Sandra, Kevin, and I believe Corey started this work initially at the beginning of the year, but with competing priorities and balancing the weight of the other priorities, it's been hard to sustain. So if we don't get this, it's something that we will try to do. Whether we will do that well is, whether we have capacity to do that well consistently is yet to be determined. I'll provide the job description to the board. I'll send that out in an email that just gives the job description and proposed framework. And then we can discuss it more in depth to say, hey, does this meet our needs? Is it filling a gap? Or is this something that is currently exists within our current system? And then we'll work through that.
Okay, because that just brings me to the question, if we're doing all of the pieces and it's just kind of disjointed, and we can use the framework to just streamline who we already have and what we're doing, that makes sense to me, without adding more bodies that we will eventually have to say, no, the grant's no longer available, we must fund it in the budget. And I guess the other side to it is, if the job description looks like we already have all the pieces, is it something we can create the job and keep the people we have and still apply for the grant and have that support the district with what we already have?
Very valid questions. Let me look through the job description. I'm gonna send that off to you, and then we can tease this out a little bit more. Because the deadline was short, I literally received this in a week. I didn't really have much time, so I had to, like, if we were gonna do it, apply. But the benefit to it, having this person is, even if they go away, the whole district would have been trained, and we would have the framework. But let me send that job description to the board, and we'll talk about it. At any rate, it will come at the board's meeting. The board will have to decide whether it has an appetite for it, and we'll tease that out with those questions. I think those are valid questions.
And when is the deadline for, so you've applied for
Yep,
it?
we applied for it, submitted the application on Monday.
And so we're at the place where we have to, if we get it, we have to be able to accept it or not.
Yeah,
And when is that expected?
that they didn't detail that in the email, but it seems what I got was that there was high interest in this, so we may not even be selected.
I think when we go into things not expecting to be selected, that's when we get picked. When really, really wants something, it's like, sorry.
Yeah,
So,
I got a grant with that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna put in for this. I'm never gonna get it. And I was pregnant. And I was like, oh,
bad they do all this. So, okay, I appreciate you bringing it to us. Does anybody have any other questions about this particular thing? All right, then I will look forward to the framework and the job description and more discussion.
All right, I'll send it to you. And then next, so just want to give an update regarding our curriculum committee. Kristen's online, so you can speak to that, Kristen.
Yep, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to give a quick curriculum update. We were slated to have a committee meeting today for ELA. I ended up canceling that because we did have a lot of committee members that reached out to me. Schools were tight with absentees today, and with the activities that were happening today with the solar eclipse. Principals just needed teachers in the building. So we ended up canceling that meeting today. We are meeting with the ELA committee on the 16th. At this point, I think I did update you that we are looking at Amplify CKLA, which is for K-5, and Amplify ELA, which is a 6 through 8 curriculum. We're looking at Great Minds, Wit and Wisdom, which is a K-8 curriculum. The next meeting is next Tuesday, April 16th. I did email the committee today when I canceled today's meeting, letting them know that they could continue to stop by and look at sample materials, and that I was going to be following up with an email to them, letting them know what our next meeting was going to be, which we are going to be using a rubric that is going to identify specific areas like rigor, relevance, and there's several other areas, and they will evaluate the curriculum according to those areas, and that will help us to determine which of the programs best meets our needs, so that they can then make recommendations to the administrative team. The math curriculum committee met last week, and that's a picture that Dr. Spence took of us. They are looking at Imagine Learning Illustrative Math, and Savas Envision Math Common Core. They are meeting this Thursday. And we will be starting the work on looking at that rubric. And that's
Thank
kind
you.
of my update, but we're on track. I've also gotten quotes. I need to work with Lori in looking at those quotes. And I'm still waiting for one more quote to come in, but we're on track to be coming to a decision with the administrative team by the end of April.
Thank you.
All right,
And,
thank you.
and just to recap, just for, the curriculum committee, was a decision made by our administration. Each of our building principals and administration and cabinet made this decision that we were going to pursue this. There is representatives from each attendance area on the committee. I also want to highlight the fact that I was at the committee and they did a really good job of asking very, very high level questions, talking about the implementation, talking about the feasibility for the local context. So again, I would like to thank our people from the Walpole attendance area, the Alstead and Vilas attendance area, and the Charlestown attendance area for sitting on this committee and really working as representatives for the teachers throughout our district to support this initiative here. They're doing really good work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
There's a lot of work,
Yes.
through all those materials.
It is, and right there in that picture, those were some of the materials that that they sent to us to vet, and they were doing a really good job at really vetting those materials, asking really high level questions. And so there was some good discussion happening in that committee. So I'm gonna make it around to the math committee, but again, I want to thank our people because it just shows how well we work when we come together.
Go ahead.
Will the curriculum committee also be working on rolling out the new curriculum? Are they gonna be like train the trainer kind of people? When we get there, how's that? That's kind of beyond this process, but next steps, what's that process look like?
Okay, Kristen, before you talk about that, so one of the things that because we're using ESSER funds and they're set to expire September 30th, this process was truncated to the extent that we needed to purchase something without using those funds. So again, I want to thank everyone for their time and doing this because it's been time intensive. And with that being said, we need to get our product, and the message and correspondence that we've been clear about is we will be intentional about its implementation, taking feedback from all stakeholders. But I believe, Kristen, the companies are also offering some training as to the implementation and how to roll these things out, correct?
Yeah, and
Okay.
so yeah, can you hear me? Did I mute myself? Yes, I did, okay. I have had intentional conversations with each of the companies to talk about that this is not for us. We do not believe in sort of a one and done professional development approach to any of this, that we really need to have ongoing professional development with this. And so I've talked to them about, what is the implementation package look like? What is the follow-up professional development that comes along with this? What happens in year 2? What happens if someone new comes on board? So we've really talked about each one of those, and I've asked those very specific questions. Some of these companies do have a train the trainer, but it's usually not something that happens until they've used the program for multiple years. So I think that that's not something that we're going to be looking at initially, but it could be something that we look at eventually.
And in addition to that, we also recognize that we're going to be off with the pacing in the first year. Teachers have to get comfortable with the curriculum. We have to figure out what this appropriate pacing look here. So we acknowledge that, and we'll be working to tease that out so that we can really develop what is a reasonable expectation given this new product and rolling it out. So there'll be some growing pains, but there'll be some training to support that, and we will be monitoring the implementation.
Yeah, and I've
So-
also had the conversation that, what we can't cover through ESSER, I'll be writing into Title II, which we can use for professional development of teachers. So that's where we'll get the professional development through years 2 and 3, or, and ongoing.
So I have one concern, and I hope it's not too late. But as I'm looking at this list here, we have K through 8 for both ELA and math. we know that 6 through 8, they are pretty subject oriented, so they're not looking to learn a new curriculum for both ELA and math. But what about the K-5 where you've got a classroom teacher who's looking to bring on 2 new?
Mhm.
Has that been thoroughly vetted?
Similar to a teacher who took a position here and just started working the next day, they would have to learn the curriculum that the district has.
Okay,
It's going to be, in any circumstance, there will be some growing pains, which is why we are being intentionally reasonable about the expectation. It won't be like Tuesday, supposed to be on page 6 at this. We have to be reasonable with what we're doing, but considering that this is the time frame again, something that the district, we should have had this years ago as a district. So now we are building the foundation blocks and it needs to be set down because now we have to move beyond that. So luckily we have ESSER funds, but there's gonna be some growing pains and we're gonna work through it. I am completely confident in the ability of my staff to effectively do this. I believe that they're very talented and I believe that they can take this curriculum and make it work because they've been making it work since day one. And it's a part of our character here. We will do what we need to do to get the job done.
I do also want to say that we do need to recognize that in each of our middle schools, our teachers teach multiple grades. So our teachers are learning a grade, in some cases, a grade 6, a grade 7, and a grade 8 curriculum. So although our K-5 teachers are learning ELA and a math curriculum, that is the case in middle school. They're learning grade 6, grade 7, and grade 8. So it is a heavy lift, regardless of what grade you're in. So I think that that's the point that we're trying to make in terms of that pacing. Like, we are going to have some flexibility in terms of what our expectation is of how much we're going to get through in that first year, because they are going to be learning the curriculum, and it is going to be new for us. So we need to be able to say, like, this is the expectation of what we're looking for in year 1, and then grow that for year 2, so that we can get through that. I've never been in a district where we've implemented a curriculum and gotten through it in year 1.
Yeah.
no, that's a big ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like we're having another eclipse.
Jamie or Jenny, did either of you want to jump in before we move to the next section? Any questions about the curriculum?
And then also, we do have a group of teachers piloting a writing curriculum that they're building, because the reality is we'll have math in ELA, our core content areas, but some of the subjects that are most neglected, I don't care where you are in the country, is always social studies. What's not tested is neglected often. So we eventually want to build that work out, but right now time is of the essence. So we're patching our holes and laying our foundation down, but we will be better for it. And the teachers, again, that come to us, not having gone through a traditional teaching path, will be happy that they have something to help guide our students, because our students do not have the time to wait. We only have them for X amount of time. So again, thank you to the committee and everyone that's been involved.
Yes, thank you.
It's a lot. Thanks very much.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right. To the business report.
Okay, so it is a link submission but it is linked into the agenda so people can find it at a later time if they'd like to. I updated the financial report for March. We've been working really hard on going through, and cleaning up ESSER transactions. I think I've been saying all along that we had some projects that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to add them to ESSER 3 or not. I was not able to do so, and we'll get into that, I guess, further in my other report. So part of the process in March has been getting the funds moved into the general fund, because we have a fairly large surplus, and we're able to absorb those projects, which is good.
Lucky.
Yes, lucky is a good word. But that's reflected in this report. I'm just trying to look for notes. We were looking at the occupational therapy services line item and why was that under budget, as it is. What I found was that the proposed budget fully funded the line. If I want to come. So anyway, so the proposed budget fully funded the line, but when it was rolled over and like set up for the new year, the full budget wasn't put into that line, so it's been added somewhere else. I don't know. I mean, the overall budget agrees to the warrant article, so we haven't found that yet, but that's why that is such disparity. And again, we still have technology support that's overdrawn. And that was, we have technology that we purchased using E-rate. The E-rate doesn't go against the budget to reinstate it, if you will. It goes against revenue. And then we have a couple of categories where we had new hires that we had market adjustment in wages because of the new hires coming in. And you'll see that like our capital improvements is over by 117,000. That's the CMS project, part of it that wasn't covered. So anyway, this is where we're landing right now at like 1.2 million. We're still looking at revenues and getting tuitions in line. Our Medicaid revenue is falling short of our projection. I don't know if that is due to difficulties. There was a changeover in the system by MSB and our contracted provider, and
But some
it hasn't gone well, I should just say.
some of that'll get caught up as glitches get taken care of, and then
Hopefully,
because we're having, Goshen's having the same problem,
Right,
so.
okay.
Is that something they plan on having taken care of this year, or
Yes.
is this?
Yeah, they've planned on having that taken care of all year long, so.
Okay, so that what we're looking at for a shortfall there will be fixed by the time, hopefully,
Yeah,
and
it
if
might roll
not,
into the summer that it will
Hopefully.
be fixed.
it may end up as extra revenue for next year.
Possibly. So anyway, so when I can, pay a little more attention to the revenue stream and figuring out the tuition, then I can give you a more solid number for surplus, but right now we're looking at like 1.2 into our expenditures, so, we're gonna have a sizable surplus again. So I think that when we come to you in May, we can come with, a list of requests or recommendations for how to kind of use some of that. There were several, sorry, I got a sinus infection. There were several, one-time expenditures that we removed from the budget, that we might want to consider, taking care of. So anyway, that's that piece of the financial record.
Okay, can I ask one more question, please?
Sure.
Are we looking at a surplus again because of hiring? Like, is that the major driver of
Yeah.
that? So it's not that there's other things not being done, it's just a matter of we can't put bodies where we had to put that budget in.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie,
Oh, hi, Jamie, can't see you. Please go ahead.
Hi, Lori. A couple of questions. I'm gonna make a formal request to have this sent to me in an Excel spreadsheet with expanded line item, please.
With expanded line item, oh, yeah.
All the line items. And then the other one, so you spoke to the revenue, so we'll get a revenue report at the next meeting, maybe?
Yes,
Okay.
that's my goal.
Okay, and so when you're saying, I realize what occurred with Medicaid and it's not all easily fixable. So I'm curious how much money we're trending low.
In Medicaid,
Yep,
yeah, in Medicaid, we were trending, it's about 100,000 right now, I think.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. That was it for now.
Okay.
Jamie, Kevin?
Yeah, I am concerned about having a capital improvement project there would normally be a warrant article that would come out of the capital budget for that school being moved to the general, this is being moved to the general fund,
Yes.
right? So, that does concern me. I don't know how to fix that. I would like to know some options to fix that. I know that there has been, I think it was brought up at the deliberative session, there was some concern by the public about having, fund projects for one school that would normally be a direct expense or whatever capital improvement for that school being spread out amongst this whole district. So if there are options that we can do to fix that, I'd like to know what they are. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know. Jamie, my head or hand up again. Nope, she's down.
Now that I know what I'm looking for.
So like, why don't we just, oh, she raised her hand again.
Do you want to answer?
Yeah,
before we go?
I have the same set of questions, but I was gonna wait until she went through the finance report.
Okay. Yeah, so if we can go through the finance report. Here we go.
All right, hold on one second. Did anybody have any more questions about the expenditure report before we move on? Your hand up for that, Jamie, or for the finance report? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about town payments. We in this districts can choose to handle it different ways. And in our district, we adjust the payment schedule one time a year after tax rates are set. And so then what we do is that when the tax rate is set, that's telling us how much money we have to collect from the towns this year. So we're 6 months into the year. Now we know how much we have to collect. So then we take the amount they need to pay less the amount paid to date, and then spread the remaining amount over the 6 months. That didn't, just for a variety of reasons, that didn't happen this year for beginning with January payments. So by the time we revised those payment schedules, we had received payments through March in some instances, but not all. And so when that happens, then you take the remaining amount due and spread it over 3 months. So to prevent confusion in the future, I've developed some clearer procedures. They've been written, and it's to help ensure consistent communication with each town, as well as provide a full explanation of how we've arrived at that amount. I'm proposing that for this year, because the adjustment was made so late, that it would be more reflective of what we need for cash flow in the next year if I were to propose a schedule or prepare a schedule as though we had made the adjustment for December. So, you know, if we had collected July through December and then January through June, we needed a new amount, what would that amount look like? And set that for collection effective July of 24. For our
Can I
next
ask you
6
a quick
months.
question?
Yeah, please. Sorry.
Can we hear a little bit more as to what some of those variety of issues are about the towns not making those payments as initially anticipated?
Oh, no, the towns were making the payments, but we didn't revise the schedule. And we didn't get the schedule revised until later in the spring, because it didn't occur to me that I needed to instruct somebody new in education that this is what we need to do each year. And that there wasn't, there aren't procedures, there isn't a list of what you do on a monthly basis or quarterly basis or whatever. So it was something that I overlooked being buried in budget season. So the towns made payments. It's just that I didn't get the schedule revised.
Okay,
So can I?
thank you for that clarification.
We normally set once a year after the tax rates are set, like in November, December, whatever. So it's not, it would be abnormal of us to set it again twice a year. So this year, we're looking to set it again or make an adjustment for July first. But then when we set it next December, it will be for 12 months, not on a 6-month schedule.
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
yes.
Thank you.
So unless there are concerns with me doing that, I will take care of that this week with the towns.
Does anybody have any other questions or concerns with that?
I'd like to see what that looks like on paper.
Okay,
I'd actually like to see what the numbers look like on paper, and does that,
Get
is
us
that
started, yeah.
because that's a total different shift from honestly the way we've done it for 30 years. So other than this year and maybe last year, I don't know. I didn't hear from anybody last year, so I'm just going to assume it got done appropriately. So I would just like to see if that's going to provide. Have we spoken to the towns about that? And are they in agreement, or would they see a more of a burden in it being done that way? Like I have to wrap my head around it.
yeah, no, I wanted to speak with you guys first to get your perspective
Okay.
before contacting the towns. I didn't want to set up a expectation one way or the other.
Okay, so then my question is, an amount has been sent to the towns, essentially their bill for the months of what, April to June? There was a 3-month and then.
Yeah, some of them were March, some of them were April, some of them were.
Okay, and so the question here really, I think if I'm understanding Jamie, is are we going to have them send the payment that they've been billed for those months and then readjust in July for July through December? Or if we're going to take what's outstanding right now as if we had done it in December and then spread it all over?
No, okay, so the payments for the remainder of this year need to remain as shared with them, because
Okay.
then that brings them to their liability for our school year,
Okay,
okay? What I'm proposing is that we treat it as though we had made the adjustment, and the amount that they would have paid January through June, they would carry that amount July through December. And I can certainly send schedules showing what that looks like.
yes, I think I'm just trying to wrap my brain around that as well.
I know, it was a departure, and that's why I wanted to discuss it here first.
So they'll continue to make the payment they've been requested.
Through June.
How does then June through December amend what was sent out? I don't know how else to ask that. So we have a town that was billed 600,000. Then so that's been their year for a year. Then they were billed 500,000 for these 3 months, but really they owe 700,000. So will the July through December just be a larger payment to make up for the 3 months where they're underpaying?
So
That's why
they're not,
see it.
they're not underpaying those 3 months because when you look at the
I guess you're right,
total
underpaying
payment,
wouldn't be. the
July through June, it's full payment.
Okay, I'm sure it will come clear when you send out
Yeah.
the document.
Okay.
Can I ask one last question on that? Sorry.
No, don't be sorry, please ask.
Forgive me, I am horrible with the financial stuff, and I don't know if Lori or Jamie can address this, but what is the actual procedure or set of procedures that have changed this year that have put us in a position to kind of look at reorganizing this?
The change in procedures is there were no documented procedures. I was preoccupied with budget and did not think to ask my finance manager to take care of this. She's never worked in an education setting before and didn't know it needed to be done.
Oh, okay. So this traditionally is handled by the finance manager?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just getting caught up.
Our previous finance manager was here for 15 years and just
did what
Knew
you
what she needed to do.
Yeah,
So.
totally get it. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, can I move on now?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't want to, but, ESSER fund. So the Carissa ESSER 2 grant, which was awarded in the fiscal year 2021. That grant expired September 30th, 2023. Final reports have been filed. We returned $295,177.67 of the original award. And this was largely due to beginning projects, construction projects prior to obtaining final approval. So we had conditional approval for the projects, but we didn't go through the final process. And so we weren't able to leave those in the ESSER grants. I talked with the state and asked if there was any way we could move them to ESSER 3 if we could get the final approval. And they said, yes, they would consider that if I could show that we complied with every component. So as we go through this report and we talk about state reports, you'll see that we had a problem with complying with those requirements. There's no way that I could show that we complied with those requirements using ESSER money for construction projects, which is why we now have them pulled into the general fund. I have no other way to fund them. We can't go the way we're structured. The school board is, are not agents to spend the trust funds. It has to go before the public. We did not have this information in time to consider putting it on the warrant, on the ballot. So I don't know what alternatives there are for funding.
I mean, Alyssa, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would there be any? Don't shoot me, but would there be any validity to, or any benefit to doing a special meeting with the town, with the towns in question to do that's why don't shoot me, Misty. You love me, remember? I'm just wondering, that would be one way of getting around it, is to have a special meeting in each of the towns that are affected and do a warrant with that. Jamie has her hand up too. So that, I'm just wondering whether that might be something we think about.
Okay, Jamie?
Now I'm gonna hide under the table.
Good. I'm gonna try to reduce my heart rate right now. Jamie, go ahead.
I wouldn't hide under the table, Sarah. It's not a bad idea. So when I read this, yeah, I said, wow, this is painful. And then I, said, we can't go back and change it. Lesson learned from, having only 2 people overseeing grants that are both in an administration capacity where we're not receiving proper information. So it says we've absorbed approximately $400,000 of summer construction projects. So I would like to know for the next meeting, because I don't think we're going to make a decision tonight about this, what locations those occurred in and the dollar amounts, and how it was expensed in the current budget. What are the line items and where did the dollar amounts go?
Okay. I can tell you that the bulk of this is for Charlestown Middle and Primary School.
Yeah, I'd like the numbers and where they were put in the budget.
Yep.
And then I don't think we can, and then in addition to that, I guess this, in my mind, if they had been done as normal projects, they would have gone to their own town construction lines. So in my mind, as a BA, financial person, I would still expend them to their own construction lines in their own towns and let the lines run over so they're properly represented. And then they will just eat up the surplus from the whole entire district, like any other overage would have done in the past.
And that's precisely what I did.
Okay, all right. So when we look at, if we had the, okay, Lori, so if we had the broken down line items, that's why I wanted to look at the expanded report. So then if we look at that under the 4,000 fund, then we'll see lines overspent and some lines were able to absorb some. I'm taking it.
They weren't all run through, so like asbestos removal and abatement, that is a different, that's a 2,600, 452 line, I think. So that was part of it, roof replacement, that's repairs and maintenance,
I think all of those, if they were done as construction projects, should go through the construction lines. But I guess that's a discussion, right?
well,
They were done
If
as a
we-
part of a major project, were they not?
Or do you mean some of those were capital improvement approved through the whole voting procedure? Not all of those were part of ESSER.
no, these were supposed to go through ESSER. I mean, so ESSER defined, putting mini splits in at Vilas as a construction project. Because we had to pour a cement pad to go under the, what do you call it? The machine that runs everything.
Yeah, the thing outside.
Yeah.
There was work done in the kitchen and, buying refrigerators and countertops and reconfiguring and minimal actual structural change. But because we had to drill some holes into the building, it was classified as construction for ESSER. So that was part of the reason why that wasn't handled that way, but I can move it all to 4,000.
Jamie, are you thinking when we get the report?
Yeah,
the
I'm
expanded-
thinking maybe if when we get the numbers of what was moved and what line items they were moved to, I guess we can have another conversation.
Okay.
Yes,
Because
Kevin.
I don't want you to go through a process and then back it out until we can actually look at the data and then have an informed conversation. Yeah.
So it might not be as bad as we think, because Charlestown probably does have a surplus. They didn't
Correct.
fill all their positions, right? So there's some,
Correct.
so it would be nice to see that maybe this report you're talking about does that. I'm not in finance at all. It'd be
Right.
nice to see by town. Is that how we
Yes.
do it?
Yeah,
So we can see
that's
it by
what- yes.
town, see how where each town is falling, and just kind of see where Charlestown, it might not be as bad as we think it is. I mean, I might be like.
Correct.
Still better right now.
Correct.
So, but we also, I think as a board, we need to review the articles of agreement and find a way, add some language to articles of agreement so that we can unravel these things when mistakes happen.
Mhm.
And that's, and that happen, and it's okay. But we don't have any language in the articles of agreement to unravel these mistakes, and we need to really work.
That is definitely heavy on the agenda for this coming year, so we are gonna find a solution.
Yeah, it's gotta be one.
So a portion of this summer construction was to be funded through ESSER 3, but same problem. It was, they had conceptual approval, but not final approval. So it can't be covered by the grant. You should have your final approval before you start your contract, the work. You have to have contracts for anything over $2,000, which is unique to construction, and not typically what you would need for grant funding. you have to comply with Davis-Bacon, you have to show proof that it's been posted. You need multiple quotes, and it just goes on, and these are things that we did not have in place and do. So the ARPA, the ESSER 3 grant ends in September 30 of 2024. We're still in the process of reviewing the grant as it has been written to determine, one, we're removing the construction project that wasn't eligible, but adjust budgets as appropriate. For example, we have a line item and activity in there for summer school. It started out with for the first 2 years, and then last year was added, and then we need to see, should we be adding this summer as well? The ESSER 3 is funding the essential worker stipend, and so that currently, as it's written, isn't budgeted to include and cover everything that's being paid according to the CBA agreement, the union agreement. So we need to expand that project. So right now we have 1.3 million of the award that's not been designated for use. I know that's not my final number because we're still working on adjusting the activities to determine what the true number is. And you are also looking at using some of that for curriculum. Some of it could be used for strategic planning if we wanted to.
And we're prepared to meet those grant deadlines with the proposals and that kind of thing so that it is approved.
We're working on that right now, so. We are using some ESSER money we have an ESSER, somebody that's helping specifically with the ESSER stuff.
Excellent.
So.
When do we have to designate by?
We have to have everything obligated by, I think the beginning of September. We're working on trying to do it much sooner than that.
If it ends September 30, you have to obligate, I bet, by June 30.
No, that's not for the final report isn't due September 30. It needs to be obligated.
Okay, the obligation is, okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. And whose responsibility is it to obligate?
It is mine. I'm in charge of the ESSER stuff.
Okay.
So, and I'm, doing that in consultation with administration and Dr. Spence and everything. I'm not making the decisions solely.
Right. No, I was just curious, Lori. I know in prior administrations for our district, it was the superintendent. So I was just curious where it had landed through all of the changes.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that it was neither you nor Dr. Spence's failure to follow through with the regulations. It was the prior administrators. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that, Jamie.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So this,
We are moving onward and upward.
leads us on to state reviews. I've been telling you that, I've had a series of programmatic reviews and monitorings that have been going on. Our most recent one was food. I haven't heard back from them yet, so I don't have anything to report out there. The ESSER programmatic report was for fiscal year 2022. It should have been completed before I started. It was not. We got it completed and provided the documentation. Cheryl, prior to her leaving, pulled any of their second requests for financial information. I shouldn't say second request, their second round of requests, additional information. She pulled that together for us. We just received the report. It's dated March 20th. Again, the big thing was contracts for construction. We didn't have contracts for anything greater than 2,000. We didn't comply with Davis-Bacon. We didn't have architecture plans and building permits as required. They're not defining when it's required, so I don't, but there's some back and forth here that I have to prepare a corrective action plan, and that's due to them before April 22nd. We were selected for federal fiscal monitoring. They have a matrix each year that they assign different risks and values, and some of it's based on the amount of grant monies you receive. Some of it's based on turnover. Sometimes it wasn't this year. Sometimes it's, sorry, I was distracted by the raised hands. Sometimes it is, this year, one of the problems was that we didn't submit a report by December 31st as was required. So it made us and put us into a higher risk. So anyway, they gave us a sample, they gave us a document, 26 different activities that they looked at. It covered title grants 1 and 2, IDA, Perkins, and ESSER and SAFE grants. And so then we provided documents to the best of our ability. Okay. I lost my screen. Okay. So for the federal fiscal monitoring report, I believe there was maybe 6 findings. The big thing is procedures for procurement. The last time those were updated within the district was 2017, and the laws have changed since then. There's different thresholds for dollar values for purchasing and what the requirements are. So we didn't comply with that. Inventory management, I was able to show them what we do for inventory management for our technology, but that wasn't. They wanted more. So I need to beef up those procedures, and we'll discuss that with Lynn. And then time and effort reports. Those are reports. So if you're being paid, your salary or wages are being paid by the grants, you have to say that the time, that you're reporting was duly, spent for this purpose. And that's essentially what a time and effort report is. We were able to locate some of the time and effort reports, but not all. And then what they said is that the time and effort reports that we were able to provide, that they didn't comply with requirements. So all of our findings really revolve around those issues and procedures. There was one instance where we transferred from 22 grant to the 23 grant, or from ESSER, which fund. It was IDA, so special ed contracted services. We have a contract for X dollar amount, and we write the activity. And we evidently went over it in 1 year, so we transferred it into the new year. I can't provide an invoice for that dollar amount, the $490.14. I cannot explain. There's no documentation for me to be able to explain that and satisfy their questions. So we have to pay back $490.14.
I appreciate that it's a small amount.
Yes.
I just have to say,
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was prepared for.
Yeah. So for this report, I need to submit a corrective action plan to them by May 2nd. So I have draft procedures in place already for procurement and travel, and the whole, I don't know if you remember our DAF policy, which is grant management. I have a procedure manual that I've been preparing to accompany that. So we'll have our policies, but we need our procedures. We need to adopt procedures. They gave me some examples and samples of the inventory management and time and effort, so I will make sure that they are included in there. I think what I have in there for procurement is already meets what they're looking for. Then the next thing would be is we need to work on aligning our district procurement policies with the grant. Because when they come in and look at everything, they're gonna go with the most stringent one. It would be helpful if they were somewhat comparable or aligned. So I will be away from April 18th through the 30th. So these will be done and submitted by the 17th at the latest, for the corrective action plans. And then I have until June, I think, for one to actually satisfy it. And then I have till September for the other, so.
Okay. I'm gonna take Dr. Spence first. I see both Jamie and Jenny have their hand up. But Dr. Spence.
I was gonna say, I think this report is just a microcosm of what I said initially going back to November 13th. Little to no evidence of documented procedures and practices. So one of the challenges was we're working through this, we're meeting as an admin team, identifying the gap in the system, and we're putting in our admin binders, we're working on that, we have our admin binders, we're working on it, but we're documenting the practice so that it exists in perpetuity, it's no longer person dependent. So the turnover, loss of institutional knowledge, you come in, there's no recipe to make grandma's pie. So now we gotta figure out how we're gonna make the pie and make it taste good. So we're working on it. I'm just saying that we're not gonna be here. We're building this, just to give everyone some pause.
Thank you. Jenny, go ahead. Sorry, hand first. You're on mute.
I just following up on some things that I've heard. So is it fair to say that there are administrators that don't understand what is involved with contracts?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess my question to that is, you know, as we talk about kind of this in the future, correcting these procedures, what is being done in the interim to kind of raise a red flag to say, hey, this is a known issue, do not, you know, execute any of these projects or engage in, you know, the following activities until you have, you know, the following approved by the DAO. And also, is there, and maybe this was already addressed, is there some type of document that would show us exactly what is outstanding in terms of contracts we've committed to that we don't have the funds for from ESSER that we were anticipating?
So the problem with the SR projects is with the exception of one project, we didn't have contracts. And we didn't have multiple quotes in all instances.
For the record, I just want to state, maybe I'm just old and tired. This is really troubling to me. I don't know an administrator in America that doesn't understand that there are very serious implications to committing public funds. You know, whether it's $5 or $2,000. I would submit to us that there's a possibility here for review. That just kind of seems, I don't know, I have a very hard time swallowing that.
Noted. So we have the procedures going forward. I trust you have a training program going along with that to make sure that
Well,
those things
yes.
are going forward.
When I have the procedures all completed, I want to present them to the administration and go through it. So I've already started working with Kristen because she's looking at contracts. So you notice that she emphasized that she's received multiple quotes, and there's also such thing as called a sole source. So we can in instances such as special ed, when we use I'll say booth fee, for instance, they're your common service provider, and there's some continuity year to year, and sometimes you get the same person, and there's just benefits to using that group for the services provided. And so we can write up a document and submit it to the state and do that in lieu of getting multiple quotes, but we still have to have a signed contract and an executed contract. And, you know, so we've had that. I think the problems where we ran into contract issues for the most part were the ESSER construction projects. The one where we need to return the $490, again, we had a valid contract for year one and a valid contract for year two. We don't have invoices to support $490.14.
Okay.
It's like an individual invoice for that, you know, transaction.
All right. Jamie, do you want to ask your question? Make a comment?
Yeah, and I would put my camera on, but my other computer that I normally, my own one from the other district died. So I'm using the, this little Chromebook thing, and every time I turn the camera on, you're staring at my feet. I don't know how to work it. So anyway,
You're fine.
first of all, thank you, Lori, for trying to clean up this colossal mess that I am appalled at. I agree with Jenny that I'm hoping Dr. Spence and you will sit down with every single administrator in the district and director, because there is a purchasing policy in place that not only requires multiple quotes, because it was there when I was there. So unless somebody mysteriously lost it, hasn't changed a lot, I don't think. Maybe the dollar amount thresholds have. And I'm not talking about a grant one. I'm talking about a regular one, even that they would have or should have followed in lieu of not having a grant one, which I thought we had in place, but it has changed. I'm going to assume, Lori, that all of what we have to pay back or not get refunded for has been adjusted into the expenditure sheet that you're showing us tonight. And that's a
Yes.
question.
Yes, and that was part of the reason, I mean, like, I've been working
Yeah.
diligently on this, and that was part of the factor for why this was such a late submission, is that we were still working on trying to clean up, all of the ESSER, and get them into the, general fund, so it would be included. So when you, I know you've requested for, March 1 trial balance in detail. This wouldn't be reflected on March 1.
No, March 30. March 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my only other concern is this, is that IDEA and preschool, that director should know all this. Perkins, the director, should have known all of this. So I don't know where the breakdown is, but please, to Jenny's point, make sure that we're reinforcing whose job is what with these pieces.
I didn't have problems with Perkins or IDA for
Purchase.
quotes or
Time and effort, which is salaries.
time and effort, yes.
That's not new. Time and effort's been there a long time.
Yeah, we're doing it.
I believe that's always been handled by the federal fund bookkeeper.
I don't know. I guess we need to ask, right? And then make sure that everybody knows about it.
Right.
And so the other piece is, did we pay those back too, Lori? Have they been booked?
I'm sorry, what, the 490?
No, the dollar amount for the salaries and benefits, has that been booked also as an expense?
They didn't say that was not allowable.
Oh,
They said
okay. So they're not asking for the money back?
Right, the only money that they've asked for to be returned is the $490.14.
Oh, okay.
And really, all the other procurement issues really, it's a repeat of what we heard from the ESSER
Okay.
review. And I should tell you that my single audit will focus on ESSER. So I handed him the 2 reports and said, here you go. I mean, he was gonna find the same thing, so.
Okay.
So you're
All
gonna
right.
see things in our audit report that
Okay.
will align with this as well.
Okay, thank
Could
you.
probably be James. You were making his job easier, so I do appreciate that openness. Yes, Kevin.
So just as our policy committee review those policies as well after maybe working with the business manager or well, at the direction of the superintendent, to make sure that our policies are up to date and aligning with whatever, however that Mark,
Whatever changes happen.
Yeah, where changes happen in regulation. So I want to make sure that we're all,
So,
they're strong and people are following them.
so we'll take the structural changes and bring it to the policy committee officially. Okay, all right.
If we're changing the policy,
Yeah.
we're just in charge of changing policies that are on the school board policies, so any of those on the website, so.
And then to add to that, so one of the things we've been doing is a department review. We've been doing a deep dive into each department to figure out which worked well historically, where we seeing our gaps. And it's either two things, either we have a breakdown in interdepartmental communication within the organization, or the lack thereof, the process as it is. So we're looking at this, identifying, and we know what our work is moving forward in each particular department.
Jenny, is your hand raised continually, or did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Residual.
No, I don't know how to unhand myself, so let me see.
Well, raise your physical hand if you need me again then, so and I'll.
Okay,
Oh,
fair.
there you go.
I'll just
Or maybe
shake really
ready.
fast. Okay.
That's good. So I have one more question about that. I just want to know if this process highlights any other areas that we need to review, so that we can get ahead of it. I don't understand a lot of the back office things that need to be done, because I've never been in that part of the industry. But is there anything else that we can look at proactively?
In the finance department, business.
Any other procedures that we see that aren't getting trained on that we need to be ahead of, that you're looking that might get audited in the near future, or?
As audited from a grant perspective or from a financial perspective?
Well, from all of them.
Okay.
I want to
So-
know what procedures we need to
Well, so.
really be looking at.
So personally, I'm working on this, this has been like on my back burner since I started.
Yeah, well,
But
we know
for
that you've
next
had a
year-
lot of fires that
Yeah.
are, immediate, and so.
Yeah, for next year, I wanna have trainings with, all of our bookkeepers, regarding accounts payable and encumbering, funds from the start, and the procurement process and payment and, relationship with the P card and all of that type of thing. Those procedures we need to, review and educate, on. Those aren't something that will specifically be audited. But if we don't have good internal controls, it could create a problem that would come up in an audit, but.
Appreciate that recognition, for sure.
I think, that's the first thing that comes to mind. We're working on, training, cross-training for accounts payable and payroll, so we're not dependent on one person. And through that process, I'm asking them to document the procedures with screenshots and written procedures, and so we can compile a manual. So those are projects that we have ongoing right now in the finance office.
Okay.
I think that we also, this is separate, but it's come to light in some conversations, is that we need to develop some procedures and processes on receivables and how those are collected. So if one department is billing out, I'm like, well, where's the money going? I don't know. Should
I don't
come
know,
to
not a
me.
good answer.
Nope. Yeah,
Nope,
no,
that
it should
makes
come,
me uncomfortable.
it should come through my office, but if we don't know it's out there, we have no, we don't know to pursue collection or anything else, so, or, we can't manage it if we aren't aware of it. So those are some processes and procedures that we need to look at as well.
Thank you. Those are the answers I was hoping to get from that question, that it is being seen as a big issue, not just this one pinhole item. Not that it's a pinhole. Okay, Jamie, do you want to add to that? I see
Yeah,
your hand
and
up.
your regular fiscal auditors, who is, you don't have Plodzik, who do you have? Green, right? Your regular
Yeah.
fiscal auditors should be checking your policies for compliance. It's part of a regular fiscal audit. So I'm curious, like, if we haven't seen a management discussion from Green and Roberts, or whatever they call themselves now, that said our policies weren't approvable, that's a problem. Because if they're auditing us and they're auditing federal grants, because we get a ton of money, and they didn't look at our policies for that, that's a problem.
our policy for federal grants is accurate. It was recently put into place or updated, the DAF. And I mean, it's a really pretty comprehensive policy for grant management.
So why are they, why do we have findings with regards to the policy? Because it wasn't followed?
We have findings on procedures and lack of procedures. Policies, they checked off all the boxes. We had no findings for policies.
So no, they didn't follow the procedures with the policies.
The policy doesn't have any corresponding procedures.
Well, it should. There's like 7 of them that go with it. If you look at the.
And
Okay,
they view those as policy and not procedure is what I've experienced.
okay. I guess mine's written differently. I've not looked at ours at Fall Mountain. I will. Because mine passed muster with the state of New Hampshire. So, okay.
Yeah, our policy did. Policy was fine.
Well, ours has procedures that are attached to it. So,
Okay.
yeah, which were given to us from the state of New Hampshire.
Okay.
I'll go out and take a look at it. I can't pull them up on my little Chrome thing. It's saying they don't exist. So, thanks, Lori.
Sure. If there are no other questions, I'd love to end on a happy note.
Oh, good.
We would too.
So our increase to our health insurance was 8.6%
Instead of 18?
instead of, 16 or 18. Yeah.
Woo!
So, I mean, I know districts that were given a GMR of 25% and their rate increase was 25%. So,
That's good.
I'm happy to hear this.
Well, thank you for sharing
Thank
it
you.
with us, for sure. Okay. Do we have any committee reports today? Sarah, do you have anything from?
I do. I had a very good, meeting with Dr. Spence and with, Deb, around, the RVTC issue. And, it just for the public, that is, that we are part of a regional, regional group, whatever it's called, here in New Hampshire, that requires us to send students to Keene if, and only to Keene if they offer the program. So we can't send students to River Valley because they're not part of our regional agreement, if Keene offers the same course. Correct?
Yep.
And so, and this is not new. This has been going on, Jamie, you know, this has been going on for, ad nauseum since the beginning of RVTC time.
30
and
years.
so- Yeah. So it's something that, when I was a teacher here, I wanted to address, and then I've been hoping to be able to address it, the whole time I've been on the board. And so now my last year, I'm gonna address it, by golly. And I have to say that even if I'm not on the board, I still will be working with the technical department and working with Deb and helping with this, because I think it's really important. Not that I think that all of our students should go to River Valley, and I was very clear with River Valley at the board meeting about this. I told them, I said, I do not think that all of our students should necessarily come here. My big thing is that our students should be able to choose what's the best program for them. We have a really good program that's available to us over at RVTC, and we have a really good program that's available to us at Keene. For some kids, Keene's gonna work perfectly for them. And for some kids, River Valley's gonna work really good for them. And I would love for us, we also are working on having students be able to come to our technical program that we offer here, because we have some really good programs that we're offering here. And so I would like us to work on really working towards being able to have an interstate agreement with Vermont, with River Valley, to be able to have kids go both ways across the river. There's kids over there that would like to do our ROTC program. There are kids over there that would like to do our ag science, our animal science, our animal science program. So I would like for students to be able to have some choice. One of the things with River Valley is that it is not a school overall. It is just it's a district that is only a technical center. And so, the issue there would be, in terms of Vermont kids coming here, would be, Springfield kids being able to come and Bellows Falls kids being able to come, kids that go to River Valley right now. So, with that, I would like to have a nod of the head from Dr. Spence that it's okay to be working towards this. And, I certainly will keep you in the loop. I think it would be good for you and I and Scott and Deb, for all of us to sit down together, and also probably the folks from Keene, just to sit down and talk about what are the things, what are the blocks, what are the stumbling blocks, the things of why this can't happen, and are there ways to nibble down those barriers so that our students are able to have choice. There is a national movement right now called Technical Centers Without Borders, so that students are able to, so we don't have these silos where kids are required to attend something and not allowed to have a program that's going to really meet their needs. And so I'm learning more about that. There's a national conference that they're going to be presenting this to the technical directors and to state directors and such. And so I've been reading up on that, and I'm working with Scott on that. So that's something, and I have to say that it was met with great response from the River Valley Board, that I was really gonna be working on this, and that, and I really like that, I appreciate the support that Dr. Spence is giving me in terms of being able to be that liaison from our board over there. I felt like I'm just kind of on the board going, okay, yeah, I'll move for that, but, and not really making a difference. It's just kind of keeping the status quo. So I'm feeling, if you hear it in my voice, I'm feeling pretty hyped on this, that this is something I've wanted to work on for a long time. And I feel like there's a desire for that. And Deb is saying that she thinks that it would be a good thing. And his name is escaping me, the guidance to, the head of guidance here. Nate, sorry, Nate. But, he wants kids to have choice. He wants them to be able to choose the program that's going to be best for them.
Support that. I will say, we had a conversation with Scott as well. He said he was on the cusp of working with their legislature, because as I understand it, it's not us, it's a Vermont thing. We're free here. So that's the way I understand it. I know he was on the cusp, but I think it would be great. The only obstacle I foresee is, and I can't speak for Dr. Millay, but with declining enrollment in Keene, will his board chair and Dr. Millay commit to any type of structure that's going to mean less seats for them? I can't speak to it, but that's been the challenge. That's the work that we have to work on.
Well, and because there were some things that happened that made it, and it wasn't us, that made it so that our regional agreement did not get.
It's never us. It's never us.
It was not us.
Yes, it was not us.
The state, it was
Thank
not
you.
us, but our regional agreement, which was supposed to be signed, and for now,
Mhm.
is not. And so it will not be signed until.
So the changes that we wanted to see in regards to seat allocation will happen next year. So yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, so we have a little space to make, to really look at that regional agreement and see what, see, and it may not be, it may be that this is, we do a mini step now, and then a mini step, and then a mini step, we might not be able to eat the whole elephant at once, because we'll choke. So,
I think we should brainstorm again.
Yes.
We have to have another follow-up meeting to brainstorm, just lay the pieces out.
absolutely.
But I think,
Cause I wanna be moving in the direction you want me to move. I don't wanna be, charging down and then find out,
no,
I'm out on
I
the
just
end of
wanna
the
make sure that
street.
we have our language consistent
Yes.
for this next agreement, that the language is consistent. So that's why we wanna be it's the language that goes into that agreement that's gonna matter.
Yes,
But we are in agreement ideology.
Okay,
ideological,
good,
yeah.
good. So, and.
Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm on that. I look forward to hearing
Yes.
a lot more about what's going on.
And one thing just to make sure people understand is that River Valley does cost more in terms of, if you just look at just the dollar amount. But you have to look at the seat time that the students are able to spend in a class, in the classroom. And it's more, it's longer. So if you took it down to minutes, student minutes, it would not be, the difference wouldn't be that much, yeah. Or it might not be anything, it might be less, I don't know.
All right. I don't think we have any
Yeah,
other
kinda like
committee
that.
reports this
My
evening.
turn.
So. Like I said, on to new business. There's quite a bit on this agenda for new business, so,
Could be here for a while.
yeah.
Let's move through it.
Okay,
It's
so,
heavy, like it's the, it's like it's the eclipse again.
Address a lot of that, and
It's good that they don't go out and you don't.
We're just not
I
moving
did
enough
tell
down here,
them
Jim.
that,
Maybe I will.
hold on,
do you need me?
hold on a second.
Okay.
What are we doing?
I don't know.
Oh.
Waiting on something.
Holding pattern for a moment.
Yes, approval under C. So it's when we do non-public, it'll be personnel and there's a student, right? Or discussion.
Okay.
So we gave us all those others. Okay. Or we're not there yet. Okay. So we can just. So, that's okay, I just wanna make sure we're not stopping you from doing what you need to do. First thing on our agenda for new business is a potential change to the time of school board meetings. Now, we do have the policy coming up on our consent agenda, we've all talked about it. Jenny, I know you weren't part of that other conversation before, I think I gave you maybe a little heads up.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
What we're looking to do is amend the time of our meeting from 6 PM as it sits currently and has been for a really long time, to make it a little earlier in the evening, to allow for all of our administrators who come, who stay in between the end of their workday and our meeting, to give them an extra half an hour, maybe to get home to their families a little sooner. How does everybody feel about that change? Yes, Kevin. Oh, Jamie.
Jamie. Poor Jamie. So we're talking about 5:30 instead of 6 o'clock, right?
Correct.
For this year, is about the policy change would allow us to change it every year, so that as new members come on board, we can move it even earlier we could, so.
Yes.
I am in favor of moving it to 5:30. I would make a motion to move, I would make a motion to amend the start time of our meetings for the rest of this
Term?
term, academic year, whatever you call it, to 5:30 PM.
So when we say term, are we talking March to March? Cause that's another,
I don't know. I think you should do it school year, but that's,
Just for the rest, as obviously the rest of the school year. Yeah.
okay,
I mean. We said it's set annually, so you
I
just
didn't know
have
if you would do that
Right,
in conjunction
right.
with, your
new
new,
members
mhm.
in March. Do that. It's fine.
That's when you elect your new chair and all
Sure.
sorts of things, it seems like it
That
would go
makes-
together.
I think
for
that
me.
makes sense, yeah.
So, I'll restate, the motion is to amend the start time of this meeting to 5:30 for the rest of this term,
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, but I wanna have. a
Are you
little
okay if
bit-
I say March of 2020?
Could you put board term or school board term?
I just a little bit of a point of order, I guess I would say. I mean, do we need to finish both, is this, this is the second reading.
This, we're not even, we're having the discussion for the change, well, right, so we're
We
kind of.
haven't
So,
approved the
yeah,
policy.
that's my point of order, is
Yeah.
do we need to approve the
Policy change.
policy change first? And then decide that we're gonna change the
Yes.
time, because we haven't officially said that this is our new policy.
You're right.
So,
Just a point of order. and-
thank you, I appreciate that. So is the best thing to do to move this new business item to after the consent agenda, or move the consent agenda up and take care of that right now? If we do that, we might,
Yeah.
allow some people to go.
So, let's move I make a motion to remove item E off the consent agenda and move it to, new business item A. To amend the agenda to do that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can we move the whole consent agenda, or did you want to take that off?
Okay,
So it's gonna
I
move the
make a
consent
motion that we move the whole consent agenda to before new business. Thank you.
Do I have?
This one meeting, I will agree to that just for this one
I'm
meeting.
making,
Yeah.
I think a motion,
Yeah,
the motion is
just
to
for
change the
today.
agenda.
To change the agenda.
Well,
this
you
is-
just said you're gonna enter in front of the new business thing.
That's
And
just for this meeting.
Not in perpetuity. So do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Jamie?
Teague, yes.
Jenny? How do you vote on? Agenda up on the agenda.
Jenny, can you hear us?
Now I can, yes. Jenny, yes.
I'm good with it. Speaking to the owl or something, she can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I too quiet?
I can hear you.
Mine's going in and out. I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
Jenny's a yes, if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Alyssa, yes. Okay, so at this juncture, does anyone want to take any item off the consent agenda for discussion?
I just want to know, they're actually playing a baseball game at Cooperstown.
Oh,
I didn't see that in the document here.
It should be in your documents folder.
I'm looking at the documents folder and
I didn't see it either.
I was just curious who was playing this game. Because it's very interesting to me that some folks from Fall Mountain are gonna play a baseball game at
So-
Cooperstown.
Oh, you know what? It's not because I don't have the information. This was just a request, an email request.
Oh.
You're
So
gonna
there's
play,
not-
Joe.
I'm sorry, Jenny, say again?
I was gonna say Joe's gonna play for us.
Yeah.
No, you don't wanna see that, trust me. No, so
Just
no
an
one,
overnight
no one
trip
here
request.
knows anything about this game? I'm just curious.
Oftentimes, places like that will have like a New Hampshire day where you can opt to go and take your team to play on their fields and that kind of thing. I just assumed it was something along those lines.
Let me see if the email had any more information, but I don't think it did.
So do we want to remove that and have a discussion?
We're having a discussion on it, we should remove it. So,
Joe, do you want to make that motion?
No, not really.
I'll
So-
make a motion to remove it.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second. Jenny.
All right, Jamie, how do you vote?
Teague, yes.
Jenny?
Jenny, yes.
Joe?
No,
Sarah?
Yes.
Kevin?
no,
Alyssa? What do we have for a vote at this
You
point?
know,
3-2.
yeah.
And I'm going to abstain and not vote from this and leave it as an affirmative.
Remove from the consent agenda.
Yes. Okay, so we will add that to the end of the consent agenda. Is there anything else on the consent agenda that anybody would like to remove?
I have one request. I don't want to remove it. It's a request that I think would be helpful in the future, perhaps for us and the budget committee. And the personnel on the consent agenda, is that the big long one with everybody's contract names?
No.
No?
It's the
We have
6
that in the
people.
action agenda.
Okay, so
Yeah,
six
that's just your
people.
regular person. That's just your regular person.
Okay.
Each.
All right, never
each
mind.
week.
Sorry, confusion. Never mind. Thank you.
Appreciate the question. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
All right, thank you. Jamie?
Teague, yes.
Jenny?
Jenny, yes.
Joe?
sure, yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes,
Alyssa, yes.
You wanna hear about the documentary, because that's, I think,
Well, that's-
Ryan's here, yeah, okay.
Well,
You just,
that was the Cooper's town. We've taken it separately. So now we can hear about it.
he's here about the football documentary, yes?
Yeah.
Just approved.
That you just approved.
But
Am I up?
we should.
Guess so, yes.
Yes,
Sorry, that's why I'm asking. I
I
think
need
you
to
wanna
sit
hear from him.
somewhere else because that is exactly where you were sitting, Orion.
Yeah, no,
I'm so
it's,
sorry.
the bad spot. So I was approached in, like late November, from a former classmate of mine, Brantley Palmer, who's a documentary filmmaker. He is also an archivist at Franklin Pierce College.
Very cool.
He reached out to me if I had any interest in potentially filming a documentary about Fall Mountain football. It would go through the history of Fall Mountain football, kind of dig into the past of it, things like that, as well as follow the team through the 2024 season. I have spoken with Dr. Spence and Dr. Edmonds about that a little bit, and we've kind of got far enough in the process where we figure we should probably come in front of you guys and kind of give you the kind of spiel on what's gonna go down with it. Brantley got his master's degree. It's escaping me at the moment, from a college in Boston. He does have it written out. It is called Everything to Entertain You. It's the story of video headquarters in Keene, if anyone has been there. It is about 60 minutes long. His documentary on the football team will be a little bit longer. I think he's going between hoping for 90 and 120 minutes. But I've watched the documentary. It's very entertaining. Any of us who've been the, video rental people, it's kind of, pretty fun stuff. For the class that I showed you to, they weren't super entertained because they get everything on Netflix. But yeah, it seems like a really exciting opportunity. Brantley, he's a Fall Mountain graduate. He's someone who played Fall Mountain football. I can remember us in 8th grade in Walpole. We painted our face for school pride day and, kind of got the Fall Mountain football team, the junior high team. A little bit more kids rolling there. So I think it'd be a really cool opportunity. I think it's a really cool opportunity for, not only community, but for the kids to kind of have a keepsake of their season. I've spoken to some former coaches already. I spoke to Kevin Tallman and John Lupa, and they have some old film that I can get. Some of it will be of me, so I probably can't lie anymore about how fast I used to be. The evidence will be there, but, I think it's a really cool opportunity and, just wanted to come here and kind of give you guys the spiel that Brantley gave me. He's seems to have all his ducks in a row. Like I mentioned, he's already put out a film. In talking to him, he would hope to release a documentary. I believe it would be the September 2025-ish, just to give him time to edit and things like that. But he has connections within Keene State, and then he has some other connections where he's gonna have people come in and, help film and things like that. From what I understand, there'll be no cost to the school. Really, the only issue Brantley and I have been able to kind of get into is, what would his access look like, for away games? Is kind of the only something that we have at the moment.
Sounds good.
That's a good question. Is that something we'll address, making sure that he's got clearances in terms of background check and that kind of thing? If he's
Yeah.
direct contact with our students?
Mm-hmm. We'll.
Not that I don't trust him at all, and I've met him and.
We can make that a condition. We just wanted to, get us feel the support, have an appetite for this idea. I think it'll be great for athletic programming here. I think it's another one of those tokens similar to the inaugural fall festival that we can unify and rally around because it's at the high school particularly. But now the operational component is, questions. To what extent does he have access during the school day? When is he meeting with you? Like the nuts and bolts of this? We gotta flesh that out. And I'm not sure if you both have spoken to that. No, we talked about it loosely. We know that we need to get like permission waivers from students
Yeah.
and parents, Mac.
New policies.
Yeah, that stuff. Question is, his access, what access is he looking for during the day, or is it just after school
It would
activities?
just be after school.
Okay.
I think, when we pick up weightlifting, he'll want to come into the school and kind of
Okay,
pick that around, and then when we do our spring practices, we're doing summer stuff, and, after that, it'll mainly be, when our practices are, so they'll be up behind school with us. That's there.
Jamie, do you want to ask a question?
I'm gonna defer to Jenny first, because she'll probably say it much better than I would.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie, you'll get your $20 for this week for the nice compliment. I would defer our lawyers as soon as possible, just to get whatever we need in place in terms of, I don't know, whatever their guidance is. I mean, I know we just talked about waivers, but there's a whole host of things I would want to get Matt's opinions on and direction on just before we, as you pursue it, just so we're covering our bases.
So it sounds like, I think now that we understand the board has an appetite for this, we can come back and just say, this was the legal counsel, this is what it will look like, and have a more fleshed out, program. And we'll do it. Okay. So we contact Matt, we'll let the board know, I will let you know, of course, and then we just need to flesh out, concretely, this is the points of access. After school, workroom, et cetera, we'll get the slips together and then we'll bring it back to the board, let you review the materials, and then we'll go.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you. I know you have a passion for Hallmark football, so I'm certain that this is going to be a positive light on our school, and so I'm kind of excited to watch it.
Yeah, that should be cool. It should be good for my numbers, which I always appreciate, so.
Well, thank you very much for putting this together. That's
absolutely.
gonna be, it's really, sounds great right now.
The early ideas always do.
All right, terrific. Then I think we have approved everything thus far, so thank you very much.
Cool, awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it. You can see how the sausage is made a little bit, so.
All right.
Good to see you guys.
Okay, so we are to the Cooperstown conversation. What does the email look like?
It's
not
just
even
that.
Open.
It's
Who
just
is it
that.
coming from?
Gordon Dancer.
And who is going? Because I just can't see it.
Who's it coming
Just the
from?
baseball team?
Yeah,
From our athletic director, Gordon.
Oh,
what's his
Dancer.
last name?
Dancer.
Dancer, that's it.
Yeah.
So
So
there-
request for an overnight trip to the University of Maryland College Park. Oh, no, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. I just took it off and moved it. Just what you see there is all that's in the email. The
Okay,
baseball
do
team
we,
play a game there.
do we know how many chaperones are going? How, are they going on a bus?
Did you forward it or is it on the screen?
It's just the motion that you see
So we
there,
didn't-
Jamie. There is no information attached to it.
Can you get that form that I know that Rebecca
Fortin.
Fontaine, she fills out a form and tells you how
Right.
many
All the
kids,
information.
all of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I think-
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
did a
we
little
should
work.
see that.
So,
And I'd really be curious about what's about this game.
Yeah.
That's just me.
so the only challenge is that the board is not meeting again before this request is.
May I make a suggestion?
Hold on, Jamie, please.
No, I'm just inclined not to approve it since we don't have any information. I'm not inclined not to approve it.
You're not,
I'm inclined not to approve it. Because
Okay.
you just don't have all the proper information. And again, we're kind of in that thing of, we have policies and procedures and we're not following the policies, procedures. And I think we are, enabling people sometimes when we don't follow procedures. So I'm inclined not to do it because procedures were not followed.
appreciate that synopsis. Go ahead, Jamie. Or was it Jenny? I'm sorry. Who did I?
No, I'm sorry. I thought my hand was up and it wasn't. This is Jamie. I understand the sentiment of my colleague. I hate to detriment students because of an administrator or director's shortcoming. So my suggestion would be this, that if the school board feels if the information had been forthcoming in the correct format, that we could vest the approval in the superintendent to make if he feels that all of the information is correct that he could get by Wednesday or tomorrow, or, pick a day. I just hate to detriment students because an administrator may not be following the rules. And then a letter goes in the administrator's or a reminder and document it and put it in their file.
I will say that not hearing about this and having all the information myself, this is the first time I'm seeing this. I would need to see the same information and feel comfortable making this request, so we'll send out a correspondence to the athletic director if the board has an appetite for that, and if they provide the information in sufficient time by, I'd say, the close of the week, Friday, is that fair?
Yeah, that's
And-
more than fair.
Yeah, get it by the close of the week Friday, and then I'll give that to the board, and then if something I can get behind, I will send that out to the board. Board, we're gonna email it. If I
Yeah, you
don't,
can email it to all of us, just so we can see what it is and what it costs and all of that. And, Kevin's absolutely right. We've got to start following our own procedures. But Jamie's also right. I don't wanna, keep kids from having a great time just because somebody didn't give the right paperwork to Misty.
And I will say that historically, some people fill it out, some people do not. If it's the board's will that everybody has that particular form, then I think it just needs to be made clear before we put a hard on it, because it hasn't been followed regularly by everyone along the way. Some
Well,
people
it's
just submit
changed.
information, some people submit just information so that you know about the trip, some people fill out that form. It hasn't been a, regular practice across the board, so.
Go ahead, Jenny, you've been waiting. Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jenny. Did your hand raised on purpose?
I think maybe it was at some point. I was just agreeing with Kevin's sentiments, but I echo what Jamie said, and I'll do whatever you guys think is prudent after Dr. Spence gets that info.
Jamie, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, one follow-up. So this begs a bigger question, right? Why did it make it on an agenda if all of the information wasn't available?
Cause I put it on there, Jamie.
Okay, hon, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. So you're right. We need to, as a board, and Dr. Spence probably needs to send a reminder out to the directors and everybody and principals that this is the process, or it doesn't go on the board agenda.
Fantastic. Joe, did you want to add?
No, that pretty much covers it.
Okay, so it sounds like the consensus of the board. Does anybody want to add anything to Jamie's suggestion that Dr. Spence gather the information and
We asked Jamie to make a formal motion, including that, and then we can.
would like to do as
Okay, I can try. You got it.
It's like a motion, so.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion that the school board direct Dr. Spence to get full information via the normal form that we've seen in the past to be sure that all requirements for an overnight trip will be met. And if the information is full and complete, and he feels confident that it will be handled appropriately, the board allows him to approve the trip in our stead because we don't have another meeting. Don't worry, Misty, it's on tape, so you can just look at it after.
You're looking at my face, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry.
so is the motion,
Read that back to us, please.
Direct Dr. Spence, yeah,
I think probably the first two sentences maybe.
to make a decision on the board's behalf, do you like that? Or
What do you
board
say?
allows to make the decision.
Upon requirements being met. What's necessary. I think that gets the gist of what we're looking for.
I'll second the motion.
I would like to say that the reason it made its way on the agenda while I'm taking responsibility is because we haven't had the consistent practice even at the board over the years. Sometimes it's just the email. And so now that the board has made it clear of what their expectations are, then we'll make sure that.
It's IJOA is the policy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
No, he was asking.
oh,
So,
yeah. I'll make sure.
I certainly appreciate you, acknowledging how it got here and what has been done in the past. In context with the rest of the conversations that have been had tonight, I look forward to making it very clear and making it something everybody is following. We also know that in the last few weeks, there's been other instances of trips that have happened without going through this process. And that, I think, sets us up for some liabilities that we don't need to have. So I look forward to that procedure being
Just,
clarified and trained on.
just as one more step, one more thing to that, in the policy, it says non-school employee chaperones may be required to undergo a criminal background check pursuant to applicable board policies. So just,
And that does take time.
so.
All right, are we ready to vote? Jamie,
Teague, yes.
Jenny,
Jenny, yes.
Joe,
Joe, yes.
Sarah,
Yes,
Kevin,
Kevin, yes.
Alyssa, yes. Thank you for taking care of that on behalf of those students, and I look forward to that policy and procedure being followed. Okay, so with that consent agenda and everything that went with it completed, let's move to new business and discuss the school board meeting time change proposal. We've had some discussion. Do you want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion again, I think. I move that we modify the start time of the school board meeting to 5:30 PM for the remainder of the school board term. Or until March of 2025.
Whichever comes first.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this motion? All right, Jamie, how do you vote?
Teague, yes.
Jenny,
Jenny, yes.
Joe,
Joe, yes.
Sarah,
Sarah, yes.
Yes.
Alyssa, yes, I will see you all at 5:30 in a couple of weeks and going forward. Is this something that can be put out as part of the district newsletter and on the Facebook pages and such,
Yes.
so that people are aware that we're making this change, and also the reasons why, so that it's a little more understood in the community?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, the next item of business, the North Charlestown Community School closure transition.
Did anybody tell Matt that it's Charlestown, not Walpole?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. We don't have to,
I appreciate that Misty can call him and he answers right off and he does these things on such short notice. He fits us in and takes care of us, so I do appreciate that. I am sure that was.
because I can't even the waffle that would have.
Yeah.
Yes, well, all of that being said, that is information for us. We as a board need to decide how we're moving forward. How, we're talking with the Farwell trustees to make them aware. Of course, they are aware, but the formal awareness that this is how the community has voted. Does anybody have an idea in particular about how they'd like to move forward?
Well, I think that Matt's mail spelled out a lot of what we should be doing. Put together a subcommittee on this to go talk to these folks and make sure that, on the other hand, make sure that we've got all of our equipment that belongs to us out of there. And, I thought that that's a good outline of where to start anyway, is the actual mail. You just take out Walpole and put in Charlestown.
Find it here.
Is there anybody on this board who would like to be a part of that negotiating committee with the Farwell trustees?
I would, I'd be happy to participate.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I would too, but I mean, I don't want to step on anybody's toes if you or Shelley want to do it.
I think Shelley's got a lot on her plate, probably with other committees that she's a part of, so I don't think she would argue or ask you to a boxing ring about that one. I think if Jamie and Joe want to sit, I will happily, coordinate some of those things, having easy access to many of the members. But I appreciate not having
Having to do it
to be a
yourself.
part of that, but I certainly would support.
That would be my only thing. I don't want to step on yours or Shelley's toes by being on this, but I'll do it. I have the time.
Perfect. I appreciate you stepping up to that. So, this week I will connect by email some of the trustees. I have all of their contact information. We can get that going this week, Jamie.
Yeah, that's great. Weekends are great for me, or, Friday night, Monday night. Okay.
I do know the trustees do all have jobs, so they'll probably
Yep.
have some scheduling issues too. So.
Great.
I was thinking, Matt's, trying to read it real quickly again. Didn't it say we also be a subcommittee of the board, but also include some administrators and, right? So.
Let me get that all opened up.
Members, subcommittee of the board, including members of the administration. Ask Dr. Spence to find volunteers for that.
Chris was here, but.
If I could make a suggestion, it might make
please.
sense, Dr. Spence, to maybe have Bill Botting, because he knows the building the best. He has a long history of knowing the building.
I would, yes.
Okay, so do we want to ask Chris Young to be a part of this?
Works for me as well.
Makes sense.
And have him and Bill sit on it. Yeah,
Okay.
can I? Yeah.
Will you confirm that
Mhm.
that's amenable with the two of them?
Yeah.
I know those apple trees up there. Trim them.
Those apple trees are the gold ever. Let's see, I know Lori's already kind of looked at that building and some of the things in it that were grant funded and whatnot and how to work all that, so she'll be a wealth of knowledge, but I think just being available to ask questions and get data from would be enough at this juncture. I've asked Missy, I think the only other thing we need at this very moment, before we start meeting and kind of working out how it's going to be is, one, a certified letter of the vote, letting them know that they're going to be essentially handed this, and then to have a discussion here about what we're thinking for a timeline. The vote happens for the next school year. For July 1st, expecting this to happen between now and then. Does anybody feel any different?
Is that enough time? Get all of our things out of there by July 1st.
I don't think we'll have an answer until we have a meeting, right?
Yeah.
We gotta survey the facilities to see what's in there, how much, and because I imagine we're taking the panels out of there. So, yeah.
Well, we gotta change the security locks.
Yeah. So we'll need to meet just to assess that, to give adequate time frame. So I can send an FYI email to the board just to say, hey, based on what we found, this is the time. If that works for the board.
We should probably have a pre-meet before we meet with them.
A pre-meet of the board or of the committee?
Of the committee before we meet with the trustees,
Yes.
right?
So I will send that email out and you can all schedule from there.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Spence or Misty or somebody with us.
Doesn't sound like Matt's given us any other steps that must be met this evening, so. Is there any other questions or concerns with that, North Charleston Community School? All right, fantastic. The next item of business is the RFP for the engineering study for the Belmont Regional High School campus. Lori sent out some great suggestions.
All right, yeah.
I'd like to get that moving. Do you want to give us a little more information?
Didn't I send, I think I sent stuff for strategic plan.
Oh, you did, it was for strategic planning.
Was it
Yeah.
strategic planning?
I think it
I
was.
thought it was for the building.
No, it was strategic planning, I thought. So my concern with the engineering study is just that we need to put out an RFP, I think we need some technical, someone with technical expertise to properly draft this. I was trying to obtain a copy of, what my prior district used. And I was just told that it's so specific to the entity and what you want, that it's not, you can't really just use somebody else's to draft it.
We don't have anybody on staff who has,
The experience
Experience.
to, Mr. Gill.
an RFP for helping.
Alyssa?
Yes, Jamie, go ahead.
Lori, I may have one that you could use. We went out with an RFP in, I don't remember, 2019 for engineering services in 4 different realms. So I will see if I can find it right now while I'm thinking of it, ship it over to you to see if that's something that might work for you.
Okay.
Were any of the gentlemen that came and talked to us that night, telling us we needed an RFP? Are any of them willing to help with that who are not planning to respond to the RFP? I don't know who they, I don't know their names or who they are.
I think they did offer, Kevin. I think you're right, and they did offer that night. One of them was Randy Rhodes.
And I know he is extremely busy. But we can reach out to, it was Randy Rhodes and Chris Spalding, who's also on the budget committee, who's got extensive experience with this, and I don't believe he's in the field where he has any interest in
Yes.
applying.
He did say that, I remember talking to him, he said that he would be willing to help with writing an RFP.
So I'd be willing to sit with them if you, Lori, and myself, and then ask those 2 gentlemen, and then see if they have any other suggestions to come together and meet in the next few weeks or month in order to get this going.
Well, I'm away.
Lori's gonna be pretty busy between now and when she leaves, and then, because she's got a huge job to do between now and when she leaves, and so maybe after she gets back.
So this got voted on in March, which means we have the $150,000. That needs to be spent in the next fiscal year, so we can't even really put it in right now. So we do have a little bit of time. So if we work on this later in the summer, we can put a timeline together that would get what we got the money for will be spent in the correct year, and then we'll go back and make the request for the phase 2. Yes.
Although we would like to have this RFP answered and have the engineering study completed before we start talking about warrant articles in December. That's what we talk about, warrant articles, right?
Hopefully sooner.
So, yeah, so I think we do want it. I think the original plan was we had them do it over the summer so they could walk around and not have to worry about walking around buses and kids and everything else. So I think we do have a kind of a time frame,
But it's not May.
it's not that. Right.
Yeah,
Right,
it's not open.
You don't have to, you don't have to have the RFP out in May, but you could work on drafting the RFP after you get back from your trip. Where are you going?
Berlin and
Ooh.
then Spain.
Oh, cool.
But if we don't have the RFP out by May, no one's gonna be able to immediately just drop what they're doing and do our thing. It might, we just so the board, I'm just,
Yeah.
timing is timing, I understand of that. But we might not meet we might not have what we need, to do the warrant articles in December. So it's just putting it out there.
As
think
someone
when we
who's
meet
waiting
with-
for her barn to be built this year, because it never got built last year, because the people never could come and do it, because they were so busy with everything else. This is very true.
Mhm, for sure. But I think when you're available and we can ask these other two gentlemen to come, they'll be able to advise on what the industry needs for time. And then we can put a timeline together and then come back to the whole board with that hopefully in May.
Do we want to have Bill?
I think that, I'm sorry, goes without saying that he
Okay.
needs to be
Right.
a
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of
he needs to
all
be.
of that.
What's the timeline?
When Lori gets back,
Yes.
we will
Figure out how to write it.
find a time for those people to meet. Is there anybody else on this board who wants to be contributing to that committee?
If you feel like that you need another person, I would be willing to do it, but I'm not like jumping forward to say yes, but if you
I would
feel like,
absolutely love your experience.
I mean, I spend a lot of time at this school, so, you know, I would be happy to participate, but,
I do not want to be the only board member
yeah,
taking this on.
no, so,
I'd
okay.
appreciate that.
Cool, we'll do it together.
Yay.
We got time.
Okay, Jamie and Jenny, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation?
I'm just
All right,
gonna
well,
send
Jane-
what I have, right? I'm just sending what I have and then somebody tell me what you need from me and I'm happy to do it, okay?
All right, so at this point, we're gonna wait till May. You and I and the rest will all kind of touch base.
Very good.
Fantastic. All right, the next item is that we have received a letter from the town of Walpole. I want to acknowledge that we have, received this letter with some questions. Do I need to read it into the,
It's in, that's, up to you. I can link it in if you guys want to read it.
okay, no, if everybody else has access, like I
It's in
said,
your
you check
folder.
it. It's in full recently. So they are asking for some action from us. Misty, can you send them, a letter letting them know that we've received the letter and that we'll be working on getting the information?
Yeah, because I think we have to talk to Matt, you know. What our lawyer's opinion. Our lawyer said.
Question,
Yes, Jamie.
seeing as my name is referenced in it 2 or 3 times. And I did the budget presentation along with information supplied from Lori. I would like to request a meeting with Lori and the superintendent so we can discuss a path forward and then bring that back to the next board meeting.
I would also like to be at that meeting.
All right, we'll do it within the next 7 days. Yeah, okay. Jamie, would you?
Yeah.
With your schedule, is it okay if it's virtual or you want to come to the central office?
No, I think virtual is great. I am available. Yeah, I'm available any night this week.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will follow up with an email.
All right. And the other item on the new business has also been referenced by Lori in her report. It's this federal fiscal monitoring report that we received. Do we need any other discussion on this document?
No, I mean, it pretty much spells out what Lori already said. I can see in there where they said district didn't have procedure, as opposed to policy. Policies
And
we've
that-
got.
We're working on it, so I think there's no more discussion needed on this. Wonderful. Thank you for all you had to add to that.
Yeah.
Was a little scary to look at, and then you got it, and so I feel like we are in good hands. Fantastic.
So I would think that as a heads up, when you do get back from your vacation, and I hope you have a great one, that You probably have to come up with some numbers on what exactly Walpole is talking about and what did Walpole get overcharged for and what the rest of us all,
Oh, yeah, no, I plan on having that.
unless you've already done that.
I've done some of it, I haven't done all of it, so the level of it, I think I need to dive into, so.
That's why I'm requesting a meeting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Then on to the action agenda. We have this year's. I know, I thought I had it printed out here. Yes, Misty has brought it. The contract nominations. Do I hear a motion to accept the contract nomination?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Jamie?
Yeah, just one it's a question. It's not even really a question. Maybe it's just a comment. This is where I was confused with the last one. Sorry. I think it would be super helpful. I don't know how hard it would be, and I'm not saying I need it like immediately, but I think it would be super helpful for use with the budget committee when we're doing when we're doing comparison from year to year. If we could add one column to this, and it would be a column that would show FTE.
Oh, that's a great suggestion.
And it's actually, it is included, it's just hidden, so that's easy for me to give to you, Jamie.
Okay, thank you.
All right, perfect. Hearing no other discussion. Jamie, how do you vote?
Teague, yes.
Jenny?
Jenny, yes.
Joe?
Joe, yes.
Sarah?
Sarah, yes.
Kevin, yes.
Alyssa, yes. Thank you all for coming back.
Yeah, I think it's important to say that we're very appreciative of all of the staff that we have and for all of the hard work that they put in. And as we go through this kind of tumultuous time of getting leadership back in, it can be very difficult to be a teacher in the classroom. So I really appreciate people coming back and doing the hard work that they do.
Thank you for bringing that to the forefront. It can't be lost. All right. Do I hear a motion on the treasurer's report?
You have a motion to accept it. I make a
Got all the
motion,
signatures we could get on it.
make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Jamie, how do you vote?
Teague, yes.
Jenny, how do you vote? Yes. Joe?
Joe, yes.
Sarah?
Sarah, yes.
Kevin, yes.
Alyssa, yes. Wonderful.
And can I just make a statement to?
Yes, please.
Please, it doesn't have to do with voting yes or no to that motion, but you inherited, our BA inherited quite a mess. And so I just want, I know that there's been, it's been very difficult for you. And just like I said, thank you to the teachers, and we as a board are saying thank you to the teachers. I want to say thank you myself for all of your hard work. And I know that it's overwhelming. And I just want you to know that we ask you tons and tons of questions, and I just want you to know that we support you.
Thank you.
Or I support you. I'm gonna speak for the board.
I concur.
I think you've done an outstanding job given the circumstances, and I didn't say it enough.
Absolutely.
The same
Ditto.
goes to Dr.
Yes.
Absolutely, the same goes to Dr. Spence. It's tough.
My love language is Burdick's chocolate. All right. Put it out there.
You've been here about 5 minutes and you already love Burdick's chocolate.
Yeah.
When I want to ask you a question that you want me to put onto the agenda and say, talk to you, I should just give you some chocolate.
Yeah. I'll take this Burdick's chocolate, yeah.
All right, I know we could go on, with appreciation a really long time, but we did have
Sorry,
several,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, I do appreciate it. I just know
I
that
just felt
there
like those
are,
two needed to happen, so.
I absolutely agree. I just know we do also have, several non-publics for this evening, and we do want to get you home to your families. These are important. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to enter non-public for, let's see, I'm just gonna read K, A, and C, right?
I think just K and C now.
Just K and C now.
I so moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Jamie?
Teague, yes.
Jenny, yes.
Joe?
Joe, yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Evan, yes.
Melissa, yes.
And I promise I won't thank anybody for that motion.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Oh, you're here for this. We take it like a choice.
Yeah.